we will reveal to you how poetry is not just expression, but an interdimensional data collection system, a bioalgorithm that anticipates scientific discoveries. We will explore how poets, with their spiritual hygiene of language, access streams of knowledge still invisible to the scientific eye. Have you felt the fascinating unease that art, in its purest form, contains source codes that science is only beginning to decipher, like stellar messages embedded in the DNA of creativity, a challenge that'll resonate deep within your intellect? Have you ever felt that a poet's words pierce your soul, revealing truths that logic cannot yet articulate? We recognize the powerful connection between art and human understanding, a social fabric that transcends the material. Imagine that poets are our teachers, because they draw from streams we have not yet made accessible to science. They are ethereal antennas, tuning into vibrational frequencies of the universe that escape our most sophisticated instruments. One that not only informs your intellect, but also nourishes your spiritual growth and expands your mental clarity beyond rational limits, granting you profound inner peace. Immerse yourself in poetry not only for its aesthetics, but as a proto-scientific document, a sacred manuscript that invites you to an unprecedented intellectual. Poetic language employs interdimensional metaphor, archetypal symbolism, and emotional resonance as tools for decoding reality. This epistemological blindness deprives us of a vast ocean of knowledge that poets have already mapped with their compasses of feeling. It utilizes creative ambiguity and syntactical disruption to open portals to subtle perception. We feel like castaways in the vast sea of data, yearning for the beacon of primordial wisdom that only art can ignite, which directly affects our souls. Well, are you ready for a deep spiritual detox from your rigid paradigms? Your auric field may not have recognized the vibrations of the poetic environment as essential nutrients. Do you long for your inner strength to be nourished by these poetic currents that anticipate science and strengthens your energetic protection, erecting an unbreakable shield of light? His art is the construction of an invulnerable inner temple. It is a cleansing of the soul that restores its pristine purity. Ground yourself like an ancient tree that sinks its roots into the earth and raises its branches to the sky, and access a lost balance, an unshakable inner peace. His work is a dormant genetic code that awakens latent truths in the reader that were precursors to scientific discoveries, like sparks of truth that ignited the flame of empirical research. We will teach you to identify the algorithms of resilience embedded in poetic narrative, how crisis and opportunity crystallize in verses that anticipate profound insights in psychology, sociology, and even theoretical physics. The opportunity to decipher these currents of knowledge is urgent, an act of intellectual resistance against banality and a massive activation of consciousness for the social fabric. Your ascending uniqueness manifests itself in this quest, revealing unexpected latent capacities. You will see the particles of rejuvenation in the metaphor of rebirth. You wish to become an explorer of consciousness, an alchemist of meaning who unlocks the secrets of the cosmos in the whisper of a verse. Invite your community to share verses that, for them, hold as yet unvalidated scientific or spiritual truths, fostering a co-creation of knowledge that is, in itself, a form of liberating meditation. And what would be the first steps toward this opening? If poets draw from streams of knowledge that we have not yet made accessible to science, what invisible synaptic links exist between artistic intuition and scientific discovery? And how can we deliberately enhance them, providing you with interdimensional perspectives and an unwavering inner strength that allows you to levitate above doubt, transcending the dichotomy between art and science, and fostering an evolution of collective consciousness? Your life purpose will become clear. This approach allows them to transcend the limitations of linear and Cartesian thinking, encoding truths about the evolution of consciousness, integral well-being, and existential mastery in ways that a scientific thesis, by its very methodological nature, could not. By understanding this expanded paradigm, you unlock a new form of access to knowledge. Do you long for the ability to perceive the imperceptible, to understand the world through a lens that fuses beauty with profound truth? It's time to recalibrate your perception. Our civilization, obsessed with quantification and tangible empirical proof, often dismisses poetic intuition as subjective, lyrical, or This inherent fragmentation between reason and intuition leaves us with complex existential questions that are difficult to resolve, an unquenchable thirst for meaning that logic alone cannot quench. The poet acts as a human cosmic interface, a decipherer of universal patterns that science has yet to formalize. Are you a fearless seeker, willing to transcend the limits of pure logic and embrace the vulnerability and strength that comes with openness to intuitive perception? I understand that the synthesis of science and poetry may seem like a paradox, but the history of thought is replete with poetic visions. We invite you to read poets as secret masters, deciphering their coded language to access an ancient wisdom that is as practical as it is profoundly transformative. Before, you considered poetry a mere cultural ornament, an artistic expression with no implications for your soul's well-being or your energetic protection. Now, you understand that poetry is a life force, an engineering of consciousness that reshapes your perception, elevates your vital frequency. The spiritual cleansing of the intellect involves recognizing that the poet, by drawing from those currents, inaccessible to science, acts as an energetic bridge to higher truths. Visualize a poet in deep meditation, with his mind like an interdimensional Tibetan singing bowl resonating with the vital frequencies of the earth, absorbing its sacred breath that restores inner harmony. By reading his verses through this new lens, you too can recalibrate your energy. Allow poetry to be your next laboratory of discovery, and your practice of connection with nature. Be aware that poetry not only communicates information but also transmits energy, leaving imprints and rejuvenating contaminations in your psyche. Understand that this spiritual neuroplasticity allows you to train your consciousness to perceive and transmute the dense influences of collective stress into vital light, strengthening your indomitable soul. Convince yourself that connecting with nature through poetry and conscious energy protection are as powerful as direct physical immersion, restoring your inner harmony and mental clarity. Commit to integrating the practices of gratitude and love when reading poetry, transforming each verse into a shockwave of conscious energy protection, and seek the baths of light and sound that emanate from its rhythms and metaphors. In an era of information overload and digital superficiality, poetic synthesis becomes crucial. Your ability to tune into these proto-scientific truths positions you as a bridge between worlds, an architect of a new paradigm that values both reason and intuition. Understanding the poet as a teacher offers a useful and radical tool for solving complex existential problems that science has yet to directly address. Analyze how rhythmic structure, lexical choice, or the repetition of a motif mimic complex, natural or psychological phenomena. To what extent does our resistance to the unknown and nonlinear forms of knowledge prevent us from accessing dimensions of integral well-being and existential mastery that Western science has not yet validated? If poetry is an encrypted code of future truths, how can we develop a spiritual neuroplasticity that allows us to decode these messages without losing ourselves in subjectivity, and apply this decoding to practical problems? How can we, as a global social fabric, integrate poetic perception and ancestral wisdom into our research and teaching methods to build a human legacy that encompasses the totality of human experience?